On this episode of Main Street Magic, we review Solo, a Star Wars story. This is episode 76 of the Main Street Magic podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I am your host, Jeremy Stein, and I am back with my wife, Rhonda.
Hi, guys.
Make sure you check us out on the web at mainstmagic.com, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at mainstmagic. And don't forget to listen to the Capture the Magic podcast at ctmpodcast.com and subscribe on iTunes or Google Play to Capture the Magic. They release new shows every Monday and Thursday, and Jared and I release a new Diz Dudes episode every Wednesday on that very same feed. We've also created a Facebook group called Capture the Magic Community, so make sure you go out there and ask us to join. So we wanted to do a quick run through and give our thoughts on Solo, a Star Wars story. We saw it this past Memorial Day weekend, and I'm not going to run through the plot from beginning to end because chances are if you're listening to this, you've probably seen the movie and you already know what the plot is. So I don't really think that's necessary, but this will have spoilers in it. I guess are more so some Easter eggs that I want to run through. So if you have not yet seen the movie, I guess I would suggest maybe turning this off and going out and seeing it.
Yeah.
So what were your overall expectations, I guess, and then what were your final thoughts after seeing it?
Well, expectations, I'm not sure I had them too high, unfortunately. But overall, I thought it was a great movie. I like how a lot of it was explained on how when, you watch number 4.
Yeah.
It was. And honestly, now when you watched 4, I didn't tell you this. When I was looking at young Harrison Ford, they did a really good job on him actually looking more like him. If you really think about it, not like older Harrison Ford. I'm talking right after number 4.
Yeah, in
right
episode
after
4, yeah.
In episode 4, yeah.
Yeah, and I think everybody's, it's funny, I actually I had high expectations going in, I think because everybody else's were so low based on the fact that they had issues and replaced the directors, that there was almost no marketing efforts behind this. I mean, we had Last Jedi in December, and then 6 months later, we get Solo. We didn't even see a preview until February at the Super Bowl. So there was not a lot of marketing behind it. There were rumors that, the lead playing Han Solo was getting acting lessons during the movie.
So you read all this. I had no idea about this.
And of course, everybody's just kind of boycotting it in a sense. Everybody, all the big time Star Wars fans are saying, it's a movie that nobody asked for. Once the previews came out, I was getting really excited because I thought it looked really good. I thought it looked like it was just going to be a fun movie. The initial reviews came out and I didn't see a bad one. Everybody just said this movie is fun. It is a blast. So going into it, I think that's what I began to expect. And yeah, I wasn't disappointed. I mean, my word to describe this movie was fun. Mm-hmm. It was fun from beginning to end. I smiled the whole time. It moved along in the story really well, and was well paced. I thought all the characters were done very well. We got a lot of character development with Han and with Chewie. We get some background on Lando that I think there's still a lot to build on in the future, which was cool. Mm-hmm. We are introduced to some new characters. I do think there's some surprising deaths. Obviously it's not Han and Chewie and Lando. We know they're going on.
Right.
And what I thought, and I think I said this to you, what I thought was so cool about it was you knew everything that was going to happen in this movie.
Well,
You knew everything. And it was still exciting, and it was still fun to watch how it happened. You knew he meets Chewie. You didn't really know how. You knew he meets Lando. You weren't sure how. He does the Kessel Run in under 12 parsecs, but you didn't know how. You knew in the end, in a sense, what was going to happen. But you didn't know how they were going to get to that point. And I thought they did a great job.
I did too.
I think everybody acted very well throughout this movie. Donald Glover is Lando now, I think. I mean, he was outstanding. I think that is one of the best cast roles I've seen in recent memory, especially because they're having to base it off of somebody that already existed. You
Right,
know, I
right.
mean, and to live up to that classic Lando that Billy D. Williams did, I mean, I think he absolutely killed it. My
Yeah, I
only
thought it-
complaint
yeah.
would be he wasn't in the movie enough. But
Yeah.
he didn't really need to be. I mean, it wasn't about him.
Right.
So I thought that was great. I thought, you know, a little bit more of the complaint maybe. I think L3, which was the robot, which was, excuse me, Lando's kind of counterpart and sidekick. I think they really worked to play off the success of K2SO and create
Yeah.
a female version that was kind of a smart mouth. And I think it came off a little bit,
It was weird.
yeah, like they tried too hard.
Yeah. I'd agree.
But she has a very purposeful role in the movie, where she stages the revolt while they're going to get
Excuse me.
the unrefined coaxium. And kind of the first Easter egg I think will be is, I guess in general, I think men always refer to cars as she, you know, and I feel like they refer to machinery and vehicles as she. Well, the Millennium Falcon's always referred to by Han in episodes 4 through 6 as she. Well, now we truly
Right.
find out,
Right.
because when L3 is terminated while they are stealing the unrefined coaxium, and they have to get off of Kessel and they have to make this Kessel run, they need her navigational skills.
Right.
And so they actually take out her navigation board and install it into the Millennium Falcon. Therefore, the Millennium Falcon is a she,
Yep.
which is kind of cool. And then one of the other things that she was important for was Lando couldn't get anywhere without her. And she even mentions at one point that he couldn't even find the Black Spires without her. Well, we find out that the Black Spires is the town in Batuu at Galaxy's Edge, which was new to everyone. So, and again, I would have never picked up on it. I read that, but so that is what the town in Batuu will be called that you visit in Galaxy's Edge, is the Black Spires. So that starts to set up a little bit of timeline and a little bit of story around Galaxy's Edge, which I think we're going to see more of.
Well, that's cool.
I think I read at one point that they never plan to feature Batuu in a Star Wars movie, but it's still part of the canon. And it's part of the overall overarching structure and storyline and everything. So
Right.
it obviously does exist within the
Right.
realm of the movies, of the comic books, stories, or books and animated series and all. So I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I don't think there's much to say. I do think I think at the end there were a little bit of twists. There were some of the common twists of who's good, who's bad.
Yes.
Who's going to turn on who.
Yeah.
And as you watch it, there's a lot of foreshadowing, I think, leading up to show you that, hey, in the end, don't trust Beckett. Even though to the end, you're like, oh, maybe Beckett is kind of good. He's going to, he's going to help Han, and he really isn't. And so I did like how they still were able to involve some twists. And like I said, you knew everything that was going to happen without knowing how it was going to happen.
Right.
And the only true, I think, surprise or spoiler was we find in the end when Kira is still on Dryden Voss's yacht.
Yeah.
She has to talk to somebody and kind of go through the plan and what had happened.
hooded
and we find
man.
out, that it's Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Well, now he's just Maul because he's not a Sith Lord anymore, so that takes away the Darth. I'm pretty sure. So now he's just Maul. and I don't even know if he goes by that. That was interesting. I think that was a big surprise because if you're not familiar with the animated series, which I am not,
Right.
but my best friend Rob watches them religiously, and he was able to fill me in a little bit on why is Maul still around after Phantom Menace. At the end, he was cut in half and thrown down a shaft. So he ended up, and they cover all this in animated series for anybody who isn't aware or hasn't already, figured this out or read it online. He kind of lives in the sewers for a while, and he fashions himself some robotic legs, and he is found by his brother, and he starts this crime syndicate, and he's on this rampage and revenge to basically get revenge on Kenobi, and that's what fuels him. So that takes place during that time period. Now, eventually, he is killed again by Kenobi in, I think it was Rebels. So, but to see him fit in, I don't think anybody was expecting that, which was really, really cool.
I was not at all.
And just from the looks of it, now, if you go back, I mean, obviously, Phantom Menace and all, I think, the CGI and the costuming and all, and that was crap. I mean, it really was. But this was an awesome looking Maul. Like he had the robotic legs and he had his robe on and his face and everything. I mean, now he's like worn and weathered and torn and stuff, but it was really cool. So it's probably the last we'll see of him, but I thought it was a really cool cameo and it was something really great for Star Wars fans, whether you watch the animated series or not.
Yeah.
Was really, really awesome. So I want to talk a little more about some of the Easter eggs because there were a ton of them. And these are the ones that I picked out and that I could actually remember because I had to go and start jotting down notes because there were so many of them. I'm sure I missed a ton. Please go out to Twitter, Facebook. Let me know some additional ones that you found. But one, I mean, and not so much Easter eggs sometimes is just, and I'm considering an Easter egg if you ever watch, just say episode 4 and you go, well, why is Han Solo a thief? Okay, well, now you're going to find out. You know, he grew up on a planet as an orphan and was forced basically to steal.
Right.
And this is kind of where he got into a life of crime.
Right.
I mean, full out. That's what he did. We see the dice for the first time. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned...
Still would like to know where he acquired it.
Yeah. We never found out where he got them from.
Right.
But we see them in the very opening scene. And, of course, we see them throughout.
Because he's stealing a car.
Right.
And he throws them in the thing. But he always takes them.
Right. But that was the thing, is it almost... like, he had them when he stole that land speeder.
Yeah.
It would have almost been cool if he stole it and they were already there.
Yeah.
And then he grabbed them and was like... That became his lucky charm because he escaped.
Right.
Like, that would have been kind of cool.
Yeah.
But, you know, so we find that out. We find out how he gets his last name.
That was really cool.
That was
probably one of
my
favorite
favorite
parts.
moments of the movie. And when he goes to, you know, to join and he's escaping the planet, and Kira gets left behind and, you know, he says he wants to be a fighter pilot and all of this. And so they ask who he's with and who his family's with. And again, if you've seen the movie, you know, and when he just says basically like, I'm by myself, and they're like, Han Solo, it was like, oh, that's awesome. So cool. Like, you know, cause you just kind of figured that was always his name. Of course we get to see him meet Chewie.
That was cool too.
And I think, I mean, it was in a way we didn't expect.
No.
So,
not at all.
And we find out that his bond with Chewie is because Han can speak some Wookiee. Mm-hmm. And that's how he ends up talking to him and deriving this plan. And throughout the whole thing, what I thought they did so well with the character was having that kind of smirkiness and that jokiness and that the way that Han is, you know, just the way that he dealt with everyone. And he was always trying to pull one over on everyone. They did such a great job of showing that that's the character he is. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not like that's something he developed even. That's just who he is, which I thought was pretty cool. And meeting Chewie was great, and them escaping together.
That was crazy because it never expected that.
Yeah, to start that way.
He was a monster.
Right.
Everybody loves Chewie.
Yeah.
And it's just, that was
really cool.
Really cool.
And you watched their friendship and bond build throughout the movie, which was good. So by the time we get to episode 4, you can see why they're best friends, basically.
Yes.
Meets Lando, and we find out why he meets Lando, because Lando has a ship.
Yeah.
And what was so cool is he goes to play Lando in cards. And we knew from Return of the Jedi that he won the Millennium Falcon in a card game.
Right.
So we're expecting him to win it in the beginning, and he doesn't.
Nope.
And we all know that Lando's cheating, but nobody else really does. You know, Han certainly doesn't. Which set up perfectly for them to bring Lando on this mission because it's his ship, you know, and and the whole time I was expecting like he's going to win it now, but he didn't. Yeah. You know, which I thought was pretty cool. When they go on the initial heist for Dryden Voss and he teams up with Beckett and he teams up with Val, the Rio Durant, which I thought was an awesome character, the pilot with the 4 arms.
Yeah.
Who's killed off early, which kind of stunk. But they've got Han, they've got Chewie. They don't really know him that well. Val is a little unsure of him, and she actually mentions that they should have hired Bosk, who is the bounty hunter from Return of the Jedi. Yeah. So again, it's just a cool little like, I don't know if you can call it a call back. I guess it's more of a call forward in a sense. Yeah. And you're calling back to the other movies, but it's forward in time. But I just thought that was a cool little thing. Best line, I feel like, through all of the original trilogy and even so on is, I've got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah.
Well, we find Han Solo was maybe a little more optimistic when he was younger because he specifically says, I've got a good feeling about this.
Yeah.
And again, it's just one of those tiny little nuggets, I think, that was just so cool moving forward. Chewie rips the arms off of a man.
He did. It was
And what was great was, so you have two parts here. So first of all, he rips the arms off of a man. And then we have...
Han was going to use that suit.
Yes, yeah.
It's funny.
So then we have Beckett is playing Chewie in the, I can only call it chess. It's in the Millennium Falcon. It's that circular, looks kind of like a chessboard, but it's got all the images of the monsters or aliens or whatever. And Beckett beats Chewie with a certain move.
Right.
In episode 4, Chewie's playing C-3PO. He uses that exact same move on C-3PO to beat him. Mm-hmm. And Han mentions you always let a Wookiee win. Like, I've seen him tear the arms off of a man. Like, a Wookiee will tear the arm. Yeah, don't make him mad. They'll tear your arms off. There we go. Goes right back to him literally tearing the arms off, which was really, really cool. The helmet, when they go to infiltrate and get the unrefined coaxium, and everybody kind of has to go undercover, and Chewie and Han go undercover as though they're going to be slaves, prisoners brought in to be slaves to help mine the coaxium. Kira is kind of, the one who's bringing them in. And then you have Beckett, who is kind of like, I guess, the hired help. He's kind of like the henchman. He wears the same helmet that Lando later wears in Return of the Jedi. It was that big helmet with like the cage kind of like looks like bones coming in front of it. So obviously Lando has had that helmet on the Millennium Falcon for some time.
Yeah.
Because it does show up later. So again, just a tiny little kind of Easter egg that I thought was so cool. As they go to escape and they're looking to make the Kessel Run, and on their way out after L3 is terminated and Lando is shot, somebody needs to step in and be the pilot. Mm-hmm. Han steps in and Kira goes in to be his co-pilot. Doesn't really know what she's doing. So Chewie pushes her aside. He steps in. And not only do we kind of see that relationship start to form as Chewie as the co-pilot, but that's the one you've all seen in the previews where he says, how did you learn how to fly? And he talks in Wookiee and he says, you're 190 years old. So we find that out, which I thought was very, very cool. And then, of course, we see them do the Kessel Run and how they do the Kessel Run in under 12 parsecs. They have to take some of that unrefined coaxium. They put it into the fusion tank or whatever it's called in the Millennium Falcon. Not the fuel line. And that takes off. They escape. And that's how he does the Kessel Run. And we truly get to see it. I know it's something. I don't care if Star Wars fans say this is a movie that nobody wanted. You can't tell me that they've never said what exactly is the Kessel Run and how did he do it.
Right.
And you get to see that, which is awesome.
And now it's even a little more to me because of, we didn't do the half marathon for the run, but if you did, we did do the virtual half. But if you would have done the virtual half and the half, that was called the Kessel Run.
Yeah.
Challenge.
Yeah, it was the Kessel Challenge. So we have to do it next year just because now we know the story.
That's right.
And then one of the minor things that I did not catch, and you mentioned, I think it was after the movie, was it wasn't Lando and Han's last interaction, but it was near the end.
Was it near the end?
Yeah. And you actually picked up on this one.
Yeah, it was cute because Lando said, "I hate you," and Han said, "I know." So that sets up for when Leia says, "I love you," and he's like, "I know."
And it's so cool. Like, that's just his response.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's so cool. I think anybody could say anything, and he's just like, "I know." And
cool.
And you and I, we have we've got the hats, the I love you, I know hats, and we have something else. I feel like we have the wine glasses, and so it's become something between us. It's actually become something kind of between our good friend Christina and her family that are big Star Wars fans, and big Disney fans, and we have big group text all the time, and there's and we have a brotherly sisterly relationship where we rag on each other a lot.
Yes,
and
you do.
A lot of times there will be something where she'll say to me like, "I hate you," or something like that, and I always find the animated gift of Han saying, "I know." So it really was cool. I thought that was awesome that you picked up on that one. And then really, finally, one of the other big ones was it ends and Han beats Lando. He goes and well, and this was kind of cool when Han shows up at the end for the final card game with Lando. He's got like his mean face and he puts his arms up and Lando kind of jumps back like he thinks he's going to fight him, which is exactly how he greets him when he meets Lando again in Return of the Jedi. And this time Lando is the one who's puts his arms up like he's going to fight and then hugs Han. So again, it was kind of cool. It was that little role reversal. Han during that steals the card out from under Lando's sleeve and he actually beats him in the end and he wins the Millennium Falcon. So that's when he truly gets it. Han and Chewie are they go off and they're going to go to Tatooine, and they've been told throughout it that there is a gangster that they can be set up with, which we never get to see him, and I kind of thought we were, is Jabba the Hutt. It would have been cool if Jabba maybe showed up at the very, very end, but I don't think it was really necessary at that point because you knew what they were talking about. So that was kind of cool. And then as far as other than the Darth Maul cameo, of course, we get Clint Howard, Ron Howard's brother, who shows up in every one of his movies. And he actually has a decent role in this one, a little bit of speaking. And L3 grabs him by the face and holds him up against the wall and all. But, of course, we knew we were going to see him. Warwick Davis makes an appearance. He has been in Star Wars films before. I mean, between him and Peter Dinklage, if there is a little person in a movie, especially a comic book horror sci-fi type movie, one of those two is showing up. We got Peter Dinklage in Infinity War. We get Warwick Davis in Solo, which was very, very cool.
Nice. Yep.
The one I actually did not realize, and I don't know why, Jon Favreau played the voice of Rio Durant, the little four-armed alien pilot.
Huh.
Jon Favreau, again, big part of the Marvel universe, and is announced to be directing some new Star Wars films.
Oh.
So for him to make an appearance was cool. And that character, I should have known because it was such a Jon Favreau swingers made type character. And I thought it was played really well. Like I would watch more of Rio Durant, like easily. And then in the first ever Star Wars film, there is no C-3PO. First time ever. And everybody had wondered if he was going to be there. But Anthony Daniels, who plays the voice of C-3PO, does make an appearance as one of the Wookiees that Chewie kind of liberates when they're steering the coaxium, and he breaks off for a minute to save that like Wookiee family.
We thought he was leaving too, though.
Yeah. So,
but knew he wasn't because
we knew he wasn't. He's coming back, but so he actually did play a voice in there. So he has been a part of every single Star Wars film. This is just the first one where he wasn't C-3PO.
Yeah.
So overall, I'm interested to see a lot of these diehards who say they didn't want to see this movie. It didn't need to be made. They all hate Kathleen Kennedy. They think the Star Wars movies are heading in the wrong direction. First of all, I think they're all going off The Last Jedi. You know, The Last Jedi was wildly disliked and hated. It's still fresh, and I think in a lot of people's minds, so they automatically assume this movie is going to be bad because of The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
I think they're completely wrong. This movie was great.
Yeah.
Certainly not going to be my favorite Star Wars film, and this is one I'm sure I'll get looks for. I still think Rogue One is the best Star Wars film, and then I would follow it with like 4, 5, 6, you know, and I'd put The Force Awakens probably 7th, 8th on the list or so, and then the original trilogy is just there because it just tells some stories, you know. But I thought this was really, really good. It was fun. It was a movie that when we got out, I could have probably watched again. And each time you watch it, I think you are going to pick up on smaller things. I came home and immediately watched episode 4.
Yeah.
And picked up on some of these Easter eggs we just talked about that I didn't realize during the original movie. So if you're listening to this and you haven't seen it, then you've already had it all spoiled. But I was going to tell you to go watch episodes probably 4, 5, and 6 prior. Some of it is just to get a fresh take on what Han was like when he was young.
Yeah.
You know, and he certainly was still that way in The Force Awakens. I mean, he was the same guy. He was the same character.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but I thought it was done really well. I think that, you know, this is our second, they're calling them standalone films, even though they do integrate into the whole stories. You know, they're called a Star Wars story. Rogue One, we have this one. There has been a Boba Fett standalone announced. There was a rumored Lando movie. That apparently Kathleen Kennedy was misspoken, so it's not that that's official or in development, but it certainly could happen. Donald Glover needs to reprise this role. I mean, I think people would like a Lando standalone. And of course, everybody still wants a Kenobi standalone film. And I'm sure at some point that will come. For people that are worried about them oversaturating the market with a new Star Wars film every single year, just get used to it.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with it. I don't have to agree with it. Get used to it. It's going to happen.
Right.
There's going to be a Star Wars film every single year for at least the next dozen years. We've had multiple trilogies already announced. We know episode 9 is coming. We have a Boba Fett standalone. We're going to get more standalones. Disney is going to release a streaming service with a live action Star Wars show. Or show. That sounds weird to call it that. But there's going to be lots and lots of Star Wars coming. We're going to get Galaxy's Edge. We are going to see more and more of it. If you don't like that, I'm sorry. Too bad. It's not going to change.
Yeah.
You know, if you think Kathleen
accept
Kennedy
it.
is reading your tweets and going, you know what? Maybe we have come out with too many Star Wars movies. We should put the brakes on this. You're wrong. It ain't going to happen. So I would get used to them. I would embrace them. For something like these, I think you can take them for what they're worth, which is a fun movie. And if that's all you take it for, that's cool. If you like to look at the story build and the Easter eggs and how they continue to develop some of these characters, that's cool. But if you're on the fence, I don't know. I think this movie might turn a lot of people back because I haven't seen anything bad about it from people that have seen it. I've only seen bad things about it so far from people that haven't even seen it.
Yeah.
Which is weird, but I'll be excited to see it again. I don't know if we'll go see it in the theater again, maybe, but we'll certainly, you know, when that comes out on Blu-ray, we'll pick that one up like we do with everything Disney puts out, except A Wrinkle in Time. I would not waste $1 on a Wrinkle in Time Blu-ray disc, but that's a whole other story. That was the big flop of the year, not just for Disney, but for anybody, I think. So anyway, thank you for joining. Hopefully, you know, again, if you found additional Easter eggs, because I know there's a ton of them, let us know. You know, main ST Magic on Twitter, on Facebook. Really good place is the Capture the Magic community. We just broke over 200 members. We're seeing a handful of new members every day. It's really becoming an involved community where we have a lot of fun. We don't take ourselves too serious, but it's all Disney related. We use a lot of animated GIFs. It's kind of like our currency in there, I think. But, you know, Jared and Jamie, myself, Rhonda are very active in there. John's in there. So definitely come and ask us to join, and we'll most likely approve you.
Yep.
Of course, go out, subscribe on iTunes, not only to Main Street Magic, but make sure you do to Capture the Magic. Catch a new Diz Dudes episode every Wednesday. Capture the Magic on Monday and Thursday. And I know today's Wednesday and we're a day late, but we are going to be planning to release a new Main Street Magic episode every Tuesday and Friday. So between Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we got you covered through our network of podcasts. So hopefully you enjoy. But go ahead and leave us a rating and review while you're out there, and do the same for Capture the Magic. That's all I've got. We'll see you real soon.